news out of college football. The decision has been made by Arch Manning. The #1 overall college football recruit has committed to be a Texas Longhorn. Of course, the famous son of Cooper Manning, the eldest Manning brother. Been waiting for a long time to hear where he decides to go, and he has now made his decision. Arch Manning heading to Texas. Let's bring in our college football reporter, Pete Thamel, who joins us now on the phone with this breaking news. And Pete, as everyone knows, it had come down to two teams. It was Texas and it was Georgia. In the end, he chooses to be a Longhorn and join Steve Sarkisian. Why Texas? What have you heard?
Well, Sage, I really think the main factor in this decision, you have to give it credit, is Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian's one of the top quarterback coaches and top play callers in all of football. He's been an NFL offensive coordinator with the Falcons. He was an NFL quarterback coach with the Raiders. And obviously we saw the assembly line of high-end quarterbacks under his tutelage at Alabama, from Tua Tagovailoa to Mac Jones. And I really feel like the NFL preparation available for Arch Manning in Austin ended up being the difference maker for Texas.
Okay, and again, Georgia was the one that was the second place, I guess, a front runner up there also with Texas. And it's so interesting because obviously Texas is going to the SEC in a couple of years. In 2025, Arch Manning begins at Texas in 2023. What does this do for their program? You mentioned Steve Sarkisian, because this is obviously the biggest recruit that they landed. And as they look ahead to that transition to the SEC, what does this mean for the Longhorns?
Well, Sage, Texas went 5-7 last year. They lost to Kansas at home. They got blown out at Arkansas, which was a barometer for how far their program needed to go to the middle of the pack in the SEC. And what Arch Manning does, he could be their starting quarterback in 2025 when Texas enters the SEC. But most important, he's a centerpiece. He's a face of the program, and he's a recruiting magnet. People at Texas I talked to today feel like there could be a flurry of commitments that follow Arch Manning of skill players who want to play with him. So I really feel like for Texas's program, this is a generationally big day because it really sets them up with the most important building block they could possibly bring in to get them ready for 3 years from now when they do enter the SEC.
And you mentioned again, last season, this has not been the Longhorn program that we all knew from 10, 20 years ago. They have not been consistently winning at the top. That's why Steve Sarkisian is there to try to change that, as we have the dogs barking in the background. Pete Thamel outside of a coffee shop this morning, and I know you're going to need it because this story is just getting going. But overall, 5-7 last year, Pete. And so how quickly can someone like Arch Manning turn things around?
Well, it'll be interesting, Sage. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up redshirting. Remember, Eli Manning redshirted when he went to Ole Miss. Texas has a loaded quarterback room right now when you have Quinn Ewers, who was the #1 quarterback prospect who transferred from Ohio State after last season. They also have Hudson Card and Malik Murphy, who are both high-end quarterbacks. So it will be one of the stiffest competitions. Obviously, the chips are going to fall how they do with those battles. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arch Manning went there. The Mannings aren't going to be in a rush because development doesn't always equate to playing right away. So, again, there's a long way from now until he arrives there, and that quarterback room could end up changing a lot. But his impact on the field may not be day one immediate because of the competition that he's going to face upon arrival there. It is a excellent high-end quarterback room.
And you know what? That's what you need if you're going to be a great one, for sure. We'll end on this because it's so interesting when you look at the Manning family, of course. Eli at Ole Miss, Peyton at Tennessee, and then you have Arch, who everybody says, hey, he's going to do things his way. As the Manning family, how do you think this decision plays out?
Well, I think in the Manning family, they'll have plenty of time to chat about it because the Manning camp happens to be this weekend down in Thibodaux, Louisiana. They get thousands of campers from around the country to come. It's sort of the Manning celebration of the Mannings, if you will. And I think this is Arch choosing his own path and forging his own way. And I think it's really cool. I think it's I think it's one of the most compelling storylines that we'll have to follow in college football the next few years. You obviously have this collision of this rare talent, storied family, and now they're reuniting with a program that, quite frankly, needs to rebuild. And he's going to be one of the faces of that as Steve Sarkisian attempts to get Texas back, as everybody likes to joke.
Yeah, the royal family in college football, and Arch Manning has made his decision. He is going to join Steve Sarkisian at Texas. What a massive day for that program as this news breaks here on SportsCenter. Pete, family.